Now that you have learned a very significant amount of things in Python already in the previous videos, let us move on to one step ahead and try to understand a new format of programming. Yes, we are talking about the object-oriented format of programming. In the object-oriented format, we completely change the way we used to look at things. I'll give you an example. Let us say you're playing the FIFA game, right? So there's a EA Sports FIFA game that used to be a very famous game in the earlier days, and now also I believe people still play it. So in FIFA game, you would find out that that is a football game, right? So there are players there running around everywhere. Now if you consider this thing, you would see that players are one sort of things. There are 22 of them, 11 in this side and 11 in the other side. There are 22 copies of them, but they all have the similar characteristics, you can say. All of them run, all of them try to win the match, all of them try to kick the ball if it is with them, of course in the opponent's goal direction. All of them try to stop the opponents when they are trying to get inside your side. So everybody is basically more or less performing a set of steps which is common for all of them. There's another entity like the referee. Now the referee has got a very specific task to do. There is no replicas of him. He is only one in the entire match. If we talk about audience, now audience have got a very beautiful task to do. They have got to cheer up the players that they support. So in this way, if you try to think, then you will find out that any event that is happening around you is actually a set of people or a set of things that are exhibiting certain behavior. Now, so far, we were doing the programming in such a way that we are trying to figure out how the things are going on in a step-by-step manner. That first this happens, then something else happens, then something else happens. We have to change it and we have to see it in a different way. Instead of thinking that what all things are happening one after another, we have to start thinking who all are participating in this event and what all behaviors each of the participants are exhibiting. Alright? In this way, if you start thinking, you will find out that in a FIFA game, instead of telling that first the referee blows the whistle and then let's say the player starts kicking the ball, then the other people come into picture and this and that, instead of doing that, you will decide, okay, a player does a certain set of activities, a referee does certain set of activities. Within the players also, if you see, a goalkeeper does certain sets of activities which is probably not matching with the forward or with the defense. So it changes depending upon what role that person has to perform, how they're doing that and what all things they're doing, that is changing. So if you try to focus on, instead of the sequence of operation, you try to focus more on the who is doing what. In this way, if you start thinking, that is called object-oriented programming. And that is, my friend, achieved using the concepts of classes and objects. Let us see how we can use that in our day-to-day programming.
So you're talking about object-oriented programming, right? So when we talk about object-oriented programming, we need to understand what is the main essence of it. So let me open up a new Python file and let me start talking about object-oriented programming over here. So I'll just call this Python file oop.py. OOP stands for object-oriented programming, right? So object-oriented programming, what happens over here? Here it goes like this, that you have every single thing that you try to work with is treated as an object. And we try to establish a relationship between the objects. Okay. So the example can be, let us talk about a game of football, right? So let's say there is a football game going on. So what all entities are participating in a football game, right? So if I try to say like this, let's say football game is going on. So what all entities are participating? Entities that are participating in a football game is going to be, okay, the football itself, the players, the referee, the audience. Audience doesn't participate in the game, but we can say that, yeah, it is also there, right? So these are the components of a football game, and there is a relationship between them. That there is the player hits the football rolls and moves here and there, and there is a referee who runs all over, right? So each of these things, if you see, they have got their own properties. Like the football can move, right? That's the property of the football. For the property of the player, what the player can actually, the player can run, right? The player can hit the football, right? The referee can run, The referee can monitor the entire match, what is going on, and the referee can show cards, right? So these are certain things that the referee can do. What the audience can do, the audience can cheer, right? The audience can shout, etc. So there are certain things that we're talking about, what a football can do, what a player can do, what a referee can do, what an audience can do, right? So it doesn't quite end in what they can do. There are two sort of things that we need to take care of when we're trying to talk about object-oriented programming. We have to talk about what this thing has and what this thing can do. Means, let me give you an example. Look at this. What it has, right? So football has a particular shape, right? A football has a particular color. A football has a particular weight. So these are certain things that a has. And then there comes what a football can do. A football can move. This is what a football can do. Similarly, let us talk about players, right? So what a player has and what a player can do. So player has this information written over there. One is run, one is hit. So this is what it can do, but we are going to say what it has first. So player has a name, a player has a team, let's say, a player has a particular height, a player has a weight. I mean, you can add as many things as you want. A player has a jersey number, right? These things a player has, and these things a player can do. Referee, once again, in the similar way, right? So, what it has and what it can do. Referee, in a similar way, it can do these things, and what it has, let us see, he has a name or he or she has a name, and age, experience, right, etc., etc. These things are what a referee has. These are the things what a referee can do. We'll just delete the audience as of now. These are the things that these particular things have, and these are the things that the particular things can do. When we combine multiple entities and they are written in this format, when it can do something or it has something, then we are basically talking about classes. So in this particular example that I say the football game, we actually have and objects of these classes, right? Every player will have a name, they will have teams, they will have height, weight, jersey number, and they can run and that's a kick, the football, I call it kick instead of hit. These things they can do. Every single player can do this. It is a template. Now you can create multiple objects of players. Object means what? When you are actually making out something out of the template, right? So you have a template and you are making one after another things out of the template. They are players. I mean, how it is done, so you will understand. So first of all, let us try writing the program, right? Let us try to kind of write class football and colon, and it will start writing over there. So the first thing I need to say that what all things a football has, right? Or it is actually easier to write down what all things a football does. Okay. So let us do what it does first. Then we shall write what it has. What it does is just a function. Def move. And it automatically writes down self. Let it do that, not an issue. Def move. And what I need to write is, let's say, print the football is moving. That's it. So when I say move, it should just say, it should print the football is moving. And how to write what it has. So this is what it can do. When you write down def underscore underscore, two times underscore and init. Okay, this is how you write down def underscore underscore init and again an underscore. So you don't need to worry about it. You can just write down def, start pressing underscore underscore. This list will come. Or start writing init. You can see this coming up, right? Init, the first one. Press enter, and it will automatically populate like this. So now the things that I have to write down after self. Down self dot shape equals to round. So football is round. Self dot color, let's say is white. Let's say football is white. Self dot weight. I have no idea how much weight a football has. Let's say it is maybe 0.5 kg. Let it be like that. That's it. That's about football. So what it has and what it can do. So what it has will go under init, and what it can do will go under different functions, right? Let's say class player. So once again, what it has, we shall write down def underscore underscore init. And here we shall write self.name. Means when you will be making a player object, that player itself will be having a name. So that is what it is self.name. And now here see one thing. For a football, it was defined that a football will always have a round shape. But a player might have any name. So you cannot really define that. So write down a parameter name over here and say self.name equal to name. A player has a team, self.team. Now that can be any team. A player can belong to any team. You do not have a control on it. Write down team over here and write down self.team equal to team. That's how we do it. A player has, you can see height, weight, and jersey number. Copy this thing. Right. Height, weight, and jersey number. So now if you see all these things are variables, different players can have different heights. So write it over here. Whatever is possible to be changed among multiple players have to be written over there. Self.weight, right? So every player might have different weight. So to write down the weight over here. Jersey number. Every player might have a different jersey number. Once again, that is also variable. So write it down over here. Right? That's what we did. So what it has. So that means now when we shall try to create a player, we have to provide its name, we have to provide its team, height, weight, and jersey. But when we try to create a football, we do not need to provide anything because all these things it is automatically taking. Right? Let us see what it can do. It can run and it can kick. So we'll copy this, paste it over here. First one is run. We just print whatever the player's name is, self.name, comma, is running, right? Let's say A. So we'll say A is running. If the player's name is Ronaldo, we say Ronaldo is running. If the player's name is Dhoni, we shall write it. It will take the data automatically because we have already initialized it over here. Then let's say I can define the kick function also. Print self.name has kicked the football. That's a player, right? So let us not write down referee as of now. Let's just have these two classes with ourselves. And then let us try to use them together, right? Now see what we can do. I'll write, typically you should not write the usage in the cell. Let's say I'm creating OP implementation, I'm calling it. Okay. So I want to use it over here. How? I first need to import this. Now I already showed you how to import certain stuff. We can go like import OOP, right? Once I've done that, then you can use all the functions, right? So let's say now we have a class called football over here and a class called player over here. So you can use it like this. Player1 equals to OOP.player. If I do so, we created a player right over here. So I'm just going to call this a player1, let's say. Now this player takes a lot of parameters, if you remember. It requires the name of the player, team of the player, height, weight, and jersey number of the player. Let us send these things, right? The name is I'm going to send as, let's say, Ronaldo. The team is send as Brazil. The height, I'm not sure about the height. Okay, I think we can just get rid of the height and weight. So, I mean, it's very difficult to know people's height and weight. We just get rid of these two. Okay, let's keep it simple. Right. Now Ronaldo used to use jersey number. I do not know what. Let's say 10. Okay. I'm creating another player. Player 2 equals to. I'm going to call this thing. Let's say Ronaldinho. He is also from Brazil. His jersey number was, let's say, 8. Right. I don't know. I'm just writing. These are two players, right? And I create a football. So I'll say the match ball. Whatever you want to call, you can call it. Equals to OOP.football. That's it. And leave it, because if you see, football does not take any parameter. The self will automatically given, but it does not take any parameter. So this init, whatever parameter will be there, that you have to write during calling the class. So this is like making two objects of the player class. Or if I want to define it in much easier way, so I'm creating two final objects from the template that I created. So the template was that there has to be a name, there has to be a team, there has to be a jersey number, and they can kick, they can move, and they can do a lot of things. So I'm just creating two objects from the particular template. So player one can also do all these things. Player one has a different name, different jersey number from player two, but both of player one and player two can do the same things. Let us try to call some functions. So player one dot, and you can see we have the kick and the run function. So I'm saying player one dot run. Then I'll say matchball dot move. Okay. So see, I want to construct a complete sequence. Player one runs, then player one kicks. Okay. He kicks the ball. Therefore, the ball moves. Right. Then player two runs, and then player two kicks the ball. Right. And then the ball is again moving. So in this way we can call it. So if I run this, you'll see, Ronaldo is running. Why Ronaldo is running? Because we're calling run function, and run function says whatever the name of that player is running. Therefore, Ronaldo is running. The kick function, then it was called Ronaldo has kicked the football. So this has kicked the football. You can see over here. Then got the football is moving. That is happening because we have called the move function, which says the football is moving, right? So you can do like this. The white football is moving. So how can I do so? The white football is moving. Now it will come because the football is white. See, the color I am putting in between then the color, and the football is moving. So the white football is moving. Ronaldinho is running. Ronaldinho has kicked the football. The white football is once again moving, right? So that's what is going on. So this is what is happening over here. We just imported that OOP file. We tried to take these particular steps and we kind of called them and we kind of used them. That's what I did so far. So that's more or less the idea, right? So making tools the player class. Here we made one object of the. Let us try to see even more examples on this particular thing. So let's say I want to create. Let's close them. Okay. I want to create another. Now this time the program I want to do, right? So I'll first create the implementation file. Okay. So I'll call it cool implementation. Okay. So what I want to keep over there. So in a school we have got teachers and students, right? So I'll write down. I want to implement teacher-student relation over here. Okay. So what is happening? See, we want to make a student. I want to have a student object which will be equal to basically, so let me create another class also, another file also where I can go ahead and I can create the classes. So I'm calling it school CLS, where I'm going to keep the class. Okay, let me do it in the left hand side, right hand side. Is there a possibility I can move them like in a side to side view, write down split vertically? Okay, this is like, so let us look at this. I want to do the implementation on the right hand side, and I also want to do the actual stuff in the left hand side, right? So I'll write down the classes over here. So definition of classes. Okay. I'm to create a student class first of all. So students shall have a name. A student shall have a standard, means which class he is studying in. Okay, let us go with only these two things, right? So self dot name equals to name, self dot std equals to std. That's it. So now if I create a new student, I have to first import this one, by the way. I can write like this one, from school class import student. Then I can go like student equal to student and write down the brackets and write down. You can see it is asking us for writing the name and the standard. So let's say the name is, for example, Harish, and standard is, let's say, 1. Okay. And what a student can do, let's say student can study. Which thing he has to study? He has to study a book. So I'll send the book as a parameter. I'll say print self.name is studying whatever the book name is. So that means if I use it, student.study is asking for a book. So the self you don't need to pass. The self will automatically be taken. You just write down the parameters apart from self. So book. So you shall write down, let's say, a book physics, right? So if we run this, you will see Harish is studying physics. So that is happening over here. From here it is pulling the data. If I create another student object, this is student 1, right? I call it S1. I create another one, S2. S2 equals to student, and we call this thing, let's say, Maria. The other one standard class, right? So it's class 3. Maria is studying, for example, science. So there will be one common book called science, right? That is just a very few things. We run it once again. You'll see Harish is studying physics, Maria is studying science. Another class called teacher. I just want to take the name of the teacher. I don't want to take the standard. So I'll just discard this one, the second one. We can give subject. Which subject this teacher teaches. That can be one thing. And instead of study, we shall go like teach. And you do not need to write down anything over here. You can just say teaching whatever subject you have told, because the teacher is of a subject, he will teach that subject only, right? So self-taught subject. That's it. So teacher is teaching this subject. Now let's say we have got 2 students over here and we create a one teacher, right? So T1. We need to import. We have not imported teacher, right? So instead of import student, we can go like import star. So we can use everything. Teacher. Star means import whatever we have in this particular class. Name of the teacher is going to be, let's say, Mahesh. And his subject is going to be, let's say, science. So if I say T1.teach, so you can see Mahesh is teaching science. So this far it was okay. But now we want to establish a relation between the student and the teacher. So the student is acting by its own, the teacher is acting by its own, and that's fine. They should be able to act by their own. Now, if I want to make a relationship between this teacher and the student, what I have to do is, I have to say that a student has which teacher. So a student has a name, a student has a standard, a student should also have a teacher, or at least there has to be a function where we are studying and from which teacher he or she is studying. So we can say that the name is studying this book, or it's taught by, and then the teacher. Which teacher is teacher? That is the thing. So you can see S1 to study. Now I need to have multiple teachers. Have a teacher for science, have a teacher for, let's say, physics. And teacher 2, I'll give him a name, Preeti. So Preeti teaches physics, Mahesh teaches science. Now Harish is a physics student over here, so he is being guided by T2, that is the teacher of physics, right? And this is the teacher of science, T1. Is have to print like self-taught name. So let's say Harish is studying physics, that is this one, taught by, I want to print the name of this guy, whichever teacher I'm passing, and to go for teacher dot name, right? Now look at it. Harish is studying physics, taught by Preeti. Here also Mahesh is teaching science. Maria is studying science, taught by Mahesh. So we are passing a teacher as a parameter. This function study took a string variable over here. Book is a string, right? We're passing a string. Teacher is a class or an object. That means I need to pass a teacher object over here. The teacher object is passed and I am pulling out its name by putting dot name.